not like posting it. I'm gonna post this no matter what. But yeah, this is a little speed art thing. I called this piece Lemons. It's inspired by this song called Lemons by Bry. I think I'm pronouncing that right. It's a TikTok song, and you know, it pops up on my For You page a lot, and I really like it. And the lyric that inspired it the most was, when life gives you lemons, you don't make lemonade, you use them to make girls cry. And so I thought that was really cool, and it inspired me, which has been hard to come by during quarantine. Speaking of quarantine, I'm going to be talking about some stuff that I've watched during quarantine, specifically Mob Psycho, which is what I finished most recently. Wow, you know, I started quarantine with this, like, thought of finally being able to watch all of the shows that I've been meaning to watch, because I have this, like, long list of anime that I've had since, like, 2016 that I've been meaning to get to, and you know, this show wasn't even part of that list. This show, I found out about it a lot more recently. I saw a streamer do something on Beat Saber to the second OP, which, oh my god, before I say anything else, OP2 is so much better than OP1 for Mob Psycho. Anyway, so yeah, I watched Mob Psycho, and I'm gonna give my thoughts on it. I made a little scripted part for that. Overall, the story is like your average shonen, but I feel like Mob Psycho adds its own twist to it by making Mob such a monotone character on paper. I think that's part of what makes Mob such a likable character, is that he's not so emotional or intense like other stereotypical shonen protags like Deku or Naruto. You know, Deku is very much stereotyped for being like a crybaby, and Naruto is known for being so determined and very intense. And I feel like that Mob just really hits that nice middle ground of being so monotone that it's nice. And then when he hits 100% psychic power, it's so much better than when like Deku hits 100% of One for All, or like when Naruto unleashes the Nine-Tailed Fox. It's so much cooler, and I feel like there's a lot more build up to it. It's a lot better, you know, through the entire episode it builds up. Meanwhile with Deku, it's just like, One for All, 100%! And I feel like it just goes off a lot, it rolls into the show a lot better than it does in others. And overall, Mob is just such a likable character. He's very... That's my son. That is my son. Oh my god, the Xbox just turned on. That's creepy. Let me turn it off. Before I talk about the other character, that being Reagan, I want to comment on something about the actual art, and that is that you notice in both seasons, at least I think I've noticed in both seasons, is that the line art for some of the characters is green. And I think that really contrasts well with these monotone and very dark colored color palettes for these characters, like Mob and Ritsu and the girl from Telepathy Club. I don't remember her name, but a lot of these characters have like really dark and monotonous, I think that's the right word, color schemes. And it really just makes the line art pop when it's that like very dark and like almost unsaturated. The green just pops out well. I really like when shows do that. I'm pretty sure the first season of She-Ra did that, except they made the line art blue, although that just made the general colors pop. But yeah, I really like how that looked. I really like how it made the colors pop. One thing I don't like about the general art is that all of the shading on the skin has this like airbrush effect to it, compared to like everything else, which is just normal cell shading. I think it makes the colors look really mucky and really muddy, and it just doesn't work well. And I hope that if there is another season, I'm not sure if they continued after the manga, I should look into that, but I hope that if there is another season that they stop doing that. Alright, so now I'm gonna talk about Reagan, who is my favorite character, to be honest. You know, I like Mob, and I like that he is such a likable character, but Reagan, oh my god, I can't even explain it. Like Mob, I like how he's not the average mentor character. You know, he's not great, and everybody really notices that, and even Reagan himself notices it. And I really like that he's self-aware about that. But I don't like that he doesn't really act on it, which seems to be a common trait with Reagan. I like that he gets held accountable for the stuff that he does, and I love how in episode 7 of season 2, it really just centers around him being full of himself and inflating his ego and being like, I don't need anybody, even though he's extremely lonely. And I really like how just towards the end with like the press conference and the TV show, I really like just seeing like his ego get so inflated only to get like popped. I also really like the relationship built between Reagan and Mob. It's not the average old wise guy and his young student. It's a 28-year-old guy who doesn't really know what he's doing with his life, and a 14-year-old psychic who also doesn't really know what he's doing with his life, but that could be because he's 14. You can tell Reagan doesn't really put himself above Mob though, and I really like that, because in most situations, he generally tries to like level with Mob, even being aware that he overworks Mob, but coming back, you know, despite being aware of this, he doesn't really act on it. He continues to rely on Mob, and he continues to scam other people with Mob and overwork Mob. He doesn't really stop doing this until the end of that episode, which I mean, like, deserved. You know, he got debated live on TV, and once again, that's deserved. But like, even after all of that, like being really rude to Mob and telling him that he has no life outside of work and pushing Mob to his limits more often than he should, Mob still sees a good person in him, and that is so amazing. I really like that. I love that they have such a good dynamic. Overall, it was a really good show. I feel like season 2 left off at a really good place where like they could do a season 3, or they could just leave it off where it is right now. And I really like when shows do that, you know. It's almost like they leave it up to interpretation. Like they could do another season, but it's also just fine leaving it there where it is. I feel like there are other shows that don't do that as well, like The Hollow. The Hollow season 2 ended horribly. Like there's setup for a season 3, but there is no need for one. There is no need for one. But yeah, I really like Mob Psycho, you know. I would say though, if you like My Hero Academia and you're looking for something with a little more action and something that's a little darker, I would definitely give Mob Psycho 100 a try, because I feel like they're very similar with the whole superpower aspect. Although, of course, with Mob Psycho, I feel like there are a lot more limits to the superpowers than there are in My Hero. You know, with My Hero, it literally can be anything. You know, there's some guy with wings who can use his feathers as weapons, and some guy who has pyrokinesis. I mean, there's also some guy with pyrokinesis in Mob Psycho, but I don't know, I feel like there's a lot more limits, and they don't all have like these different names. It all just comes down to them being psychics, and I really like that they went with that name instead of calling them quirks. I feel like the word quirk doesn't really work well with a superhero aspect. And I also really like how Mob's mentor isn't even a psychic. He's just kind of helping him through life. I really like that dynamic. I really like that sort of character. Overall, really good. I think I gave it like a 7 out of 10, maybe an 8 out of 10. It's very good. I would definitely give it a watch. This is why I only do digital art anymore. I gotta try and milk it. There's also a point in this speed paint, which I'll probably edit this in somewhere, where my marker very obviously starts dying. It was not fun. It was one of my favorite markers too, but it was also an artist loft marker, and it was the 2017 kind, which means I probably should have gone out and bought one anyway, like a new one. But yeah, so my marker started dying when I was doing the biggest part of the drawing, which was the hair. And it wasn't great, you know. I started this drawing at 11 p.m. and I ended up working on it until like 3, trying to milk that marker until its very last drop of ink, and I ended up having to use a different marker, so you'll see that later in the video if I haven't already gotten there. I like doing these. Maybe I'll do these more often. If you're watching this and you like this, maybe comment and let me know. Look at this. Look at this. It's not supposed to look like that. You know what it's supposed to look like? That. Instagram at peppersteakss with 2 S's. You can also follow me on Tumblr at tumblr.com/peppersteakss, or is it peppersteakss@tumblr.com? I never know how the Tumblr links work. I post art there too. If you want to see more speed art, subscribe. I don't really have a way to record digital speed art, so I'll probably just do traditional art, which is something that I've been meaning to get back into.